If you guys like what I'm about to say in this review, just hit the like button. It takes like what, 2-3 seconds. And so if you want other people to see my content, then hit the like button. Another version of this whole Batman thing. Some of my favorite movies of all time, or one of my favorite movies of all time, is The Dark Knight. So when I learned that we are having a new Batman movie, I was excited, but also I'm like, I know this is probably gonna be really good, but I still don't want to like overhype myself because we got director Matt Reeves. But then you also have Robert Pattinson as Batman, which I'm like, okay, I know Robert Pattinson from The Lighthouse. I knew that Robert Pattinson was a fantastic actor. So when I discovered that he's being casted as the new Batman, I'm like, yes, I'm okay with that. I'm very much okay with that. And so finally we get the movie. It was planned to like start filming during 2020. They had to push it back, but they also had to delay it and stuff. And so finally we actually have the movie. It's in theaters and you can go watch it now. And it's amazing. First of all, Matt Reeves is a fantastic director. He establishes such an interesting tone and such a good style and look for the movie. Every single shot and every single camera movement feels very methodical and very precise and exactly what is needed. The directing of this movie is insane. It's like exactly how I felt about Dune, where every single shot felt purposeful. Every single camera movement and speed and pacing and design of every single frame looked exact. This is the best looking Batman movie I've ever seen, and is in fact the best directed Batman movie I've ever seen. Better directed and better looking than The Dark Knight, I have to say. The Dark Knight is still going to be up there as one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, but this movie just did something so much different and honestly better. Like the action that's directed in this movie is so much more intense, especially that car action scene. It felt like Matt Reeves was working on that for months, and that goes along with the acting as well. Robert Pattinson as Batman is very serious, very emo, very. The Robert Pattinson that we get is a depressed Batman. It feels like he's like depressed. He sees the struggles that's going on in Gotham City, and he just hates it. He despises Gotham City, but he wants to be that person who strikes fear and who scares the people so that they don't commit crimes. There was a lot just in his face and his facial expressions that Robert Pattinson did in order to actually convey emotions, and I feel like that was also thanks to just Matt Reeves' style and feel of the movie as well. I was like a tiny bit underwhelmed from Robert Pattinson's performance, but then as I thought about it, I realized that that's the intention. The intention of his performance is to be less emoted. There's a lot of shots where there is a lot of emotion and a lot of information in that look because of the previous scenes that were displayed, and then also because of just the directing of the movie showing all these different things. And like we're seeing exactly where Robert Pattinson Batman is seeing. We're basically following along with mystery and following along with the story exactly the way that Robert Pattinson or the Batman is as well. But with the Robert Pattinson as Batman, I do wish there was a little bit more range, like a moment where maybe he got really angry, or a moment where he like just actually there was a lot of intensity to his character, because there's a lot of just like tonal, just like monotonous facial expressions, just like this. I just wish there was a little more, but like if you look at the understanding of what he's going through, it makes sense that he doesn't do that much. But that's also kind of just nitpicking the fact that I wanted a little more from that. It's not a huge issue for me because it felt right for the movie and for the type of movie that it is, which is the Batman. We also have Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. I feel like Zoe Kravitz is one of the best actresses right now. She's fantastic in this movie, and she feels like Batman. This Batman and this Catwoman are much more grounded characters. They feel much more homemade. Their cars, their bikes, and like their suits feel like they just sewed them together on the machine. Made him feel much more grounded and more realistic. Like as if he's actually just like a guy who decided that he wanted to become Batman and actually go and fight crime. And that was perfect. The same goes along with Catwoman. Her involvement in the story was smooth and not like just forced in just because she's Catwoman. She actually had a reason to be part of what Batman was doing, and Batman had a reason for her to help him. Now, the pacing of the movie is definitely much slower and more methodical, very thought out, very slow. Like we're following a mystery along with Batman as he's discovering the mystery. it definitely was the intention, where we're taking the time to explore the different shots. We're taking the time to see all the different things and look at all the different crime evidence, because this is a very detective-based movie, very reminiscent of something like Zodiac and Seven. That's basically sort of the feel of the movie, but it had its own unique style because it's Batman. You see Batman, and you are seeing Batman's. We're basically seeing what would Batman act, or how would it feel like if Batman was at a crime scene with all these detectives and all these cops, and it had a very unique feel to it because Batman was there. The pacing is definitely a little slower, but you can't stop watching the movie. There's so much stuff that happens in every single scene, and there's so much mystery and interest that develops and build up that goes into satisfying moments. There's so much of that it's hard to not watch. And then by the time the movie's over, you're like, wait, that was just 3 hours. It was crazy. It is a little slower, and there's definitely more quiet moments. And I feel like this Batman is also the quietest and most non-dialogue heavy Batman we've ever had. This Batman, honestly, he barely talks in the movie, and there's a lot of emotion, a lot of story being told just through his eyes and just through his facial expressions. But along with that, we have a new Gotham City that feels very scary and very, like, you don't want to walk around Gotham City at night or else you're gonna freaking die. The crime ring in this and the political drama around the city felt very realistic and felt something like, New York City. There's like sort of an election that goes on during the movie, and so it sort of goes in a little political direction. Felt right for this type of story that they're telling, something more dark and more dramatic. And I feel like it worked really well. And I also liked what they did with the Wayne family. I'm not going to spoil, but I thought it brought a new, interesting take to the name of Bruce Wayne. Also, along with the mystery element and the whole Gotham City, we also have the Riddler, someone who just kind of is a person who just came out of nowhere, and he's sort of has like humorous tricks and crimes and murders that he does that are like, I guess, kind of funny, but like isn't funny because it's murder. Paul Dano's performance was, it's fantastic as usual. It's Paul Dano. What do you expect? But he was great. He was interesting, and I liked how we never saw his face and throughout the whole movie, and that brought some mystery to him, like, what's under the mask. But yeah, definitely the whole mystery element, because of the Riddler, he sets up like all these different things, and there's a whole mystery build up to the whole story that Batman is sort of figuring out. Like, this is definitely a crime detective movie where Batman is figuring out all the things that are happening. He's the one solving the crimes. He's the one working with Gordon, figuring out everything. And that was, I really like that whole element, because once again, we're with Batman and we're solving the case along with him. I wouldn't say it's a much different feel to the Dark Knight. Dark Knight is more fast paced, more action heavy. You have the Joker in there that brings a lot of weird twists and turns and stuff. But in this movie, this is much more slower. But there's still a very intriguing story that's going on. And with that, I wouldn't say Dark Knight is still, just as a whole, a better movie. But I do want to say that this movie is much better directed and much better looking as a movie. And if we're being honest, Heath Ledger's Joker kind of carries all of Dark Knight. And the villains in this movie and the characters in this movie definitely aren't matching at all to Heath Ledger's Joker. But they still have interesting qualities to them that makes the movie interesting to follow and watch and want to keep watching. This movie also just has a different look and a different feel to it that I just feel like has more intricate shots and movements that pays more attention to getting information out in every single shot. Also, what I liked about this is we're not seeing Robert Pattinson, who's like a playboy guy. We're seeing the detective side, the true Batman side of Bruce Wayne. All the other ones we get, like Playboy, whatever, all this stuff. We're not getting that much out of Batman himself. In The Dark Knight, we get much more. But in this one, we're getting, like, Batman. Like, Batman. Basically did something, it tried to teach a lesson the same way The Dark Knight did. And I feel like it succeeded. Possibly as equally, maybe not, just a little less than The Dark Knight. But we shouldn't compare in that way, because that's just not, we shouldn't have to do that, because this is a much different movie. And overall, though, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I know as a fact on a second viewing, this might become one of my favorite movies of the year so far. But this is a fantastic Batman movie. I will rank it above Batman Begins and above Dark Knight Rises. It's under Dark Knight, but it's one of the best. Honestly, just like one of the best directed movies I've seen in a while. Like since I watched like West Side Story. Like West Side Story, I was like, oh my gosh, the directing is insane. That's how I felt about this movie. But this movie did some insane stuff that I couldn't handle it. I don't know. Honestly, I don't really know what else to nitpick. I'm feeling a 9 out of 10 right now. I know as a fact if I watch it again, I would probably rank it higher. That's what I like about this. I feel like general audiences will actually appreciate it. There were some people in the audience who were just straight up on their phones, like on TikTok. I was like, come on, bro. This is Batman. This is the most important scene right now that's happening, and you're just on TikTok? Oh, great. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. If you want more content, like the button, like the video, and then also subscribe so that I know that you like the video.